Hello, my little sparkles. Welcome back to another work story with Roslyn. You might have noticed I have another new model. So this is honestly the year of breakdowns. Trying to find a model that works for me. I did find someone who I really want to make my model, and just really waiting for them to open their commissions. Again, if you know anyone who is really good at making, big girl models, plus size or anything, please send me their info down in the comments below. I'd like to get more than just one person that I'm looking forward to commissioning or anything, but yeah. Otherwise, I'm really looking for a model that really fits what I'm looking for. But otherwise, experimenting is still good. But anyway, today's work ramble is when I did professional counseling, pre-license. Before I did substitute teaching, and that was the previous story. And today I'm going to talk about when I had to switch. Or at least when I did switch, when I needed something that was a little bit more, but it felt like less work, to be honest. And honestly, it was the most fun job I had. And even to this day, I'm still sad that I had to leave. But I had to leave for a lot of reasons. But let's start at the beginning. And at the beginning, I was interning at the job for professional counseling, and in order to be a professional counselor, you need to have a master's degree in either clinical or school counseling or social work, any of those specifically in the mental health field, and that's just the master's degree. But then you need to get a license. And in order to get the license, you need it varies per state, I'll say that. But in my state, you need about 900 hours. And about, if I recall correctly, 600 of those hours need to be working directly with people. And with my degree, specifically with students, and 400 or 300 or so indirectly. 600 means you're working one-on-one with kids, whether it's in groups, one-on-one, and then 400 indirectly, which means you're working on documents or programs, things like that. So you're not working one-on-one with them, but you are working for things that will help. So things like that. It's a lot of work. It's not just go to school, work with them, da-da-da-da. But yeah. In my case, I was getting experience. I was doing an internship, and then after that, I got the opportunity to actually work with them full-time. But the job was like this. I went to different schools in the area, same area, and I was essentially the counselor or therapist that would go into the classroom and take a student out and work one-on-one with them and counsel them. So I would take them from the classroom, work one-on-one with them, and it would be a scheduled thing. So I would message the teacher, email them like, hey, I'm going to need to work with this student and at this time. So I would work with the teacher to say, hey, does this time work, da-da-da-da. And I worked with elementary up to high school, so I worked in all the schools, and each school was different. The elementary school were pretty easygoing on what time I would pick them up. Middle school was hit or miss on if they would let me take them or not. Sometimes they would fight me. Honestly, they would fight me. They're like, oh no, they can't miss this class. You have to take them from their other classes. Like, I have a full case, so they're going to miss class either way or not. And how are they going to focus in your class if I have to talk to them about the fact that, their parent passed away or something else serious is going on? How are they going to focus and do well if they don't have the opportunity to talk about things that are on their mind? Yeah, okay. Well, they're struggling so much. If they miss no. No. Anyway. Yeah, there was quite a bit where that happened, especially since I had to keep going back to the same school quite a bit, and it was the biggest middle school. But and then high school, the high school was another one. I had to email the teachers constantly saying like, hey, send this student, because the school was so huge. I had to tell them, and to send the kid on a constant basis, there was this whole system. I had to send a pass down. They kept changing how I had to do it. So elementary, my dear. They made it quite easy. Middle school, hit or miss. It was in the middle. And then high school, it was a whole process. It was a whole thing. Not to mention, the assistant principal made it even more difficult. I tried to keep explaining to them how I did things, and they kept just trying to make it even more and more difficult on why things just needed to be the way they were. So, and like I said, I like to work with younger kids, so the older they got, and it's not like I didn't want to work with them, but the more difficult it just became for me. And now the teachers and staff are giving me a harder time. Ugh. But, yeah. That was just some of the things. And one of the pet peeves I had is, like I said, I would email the teachers, and I tried to make it very easy. I'd say, hey, on Monday, on this date, at this time, please send the student. They would say, oh, sorry, I can't send them today. I didn't say send them today. I said on this date. I would even try to make it easier by doing it like the day before, putting the date in the head address of the email. Still didn't work. I don't know how much easier I could have made it. I'm not sure. I sent it that morning. I don't know. I'm the type of person that gives me 24 hours and tell me the day before or something so I can prep. I don't know. Maybe it's harder for them. I don't know how teachers work. This is why I'm not a teacher. I can't handle so much at the same time. But yeah. Another thing with being a licensed professional counselor, pre-license or not, you do have to work with a supervisor. And again, it's very different. This is the only experience I had, because every time I talked to someone about it, they were surprised at how I did it or how my facility did it. But you have to work with a supervisor. You're not allowed to work completely by yourself or anything. And what I mean is, with the supervisor, you are supposed to go over how you're doing with your clients. Like, hey, how is this kid doing? What are you working on with them? And things like that. So I had a supervisor that would once a week go with me over hey, how's this kid doing? I'd say, oh, they're doing good. They're like, okay, next kid, is there anyone you're struggling with? Things like that. That was the first supervisor I had. They didn't last too long. Then I got a new supervisor because they were just handing the business over. Honestly, I'll say the first supervisor was very old school. They literally handed me a packet, I don't mean a packet. It was a thick book of loose leaf printed paper of things, and they just had me make copies. I'm like, why isn't this just scanned? You could easily scan this and just make a digital copy, so you don't just have to make really horrible, barely legible, readable copies of these black and white sheets. And they were so old. And she had a loan system. She had a old school library loan system. She's like, hey, you're gonna borrow this book, right? Write your name and email address and stuff on this note card, so I know that you're the one that was the last one borrowing this book. It was oh gosh. Anyway, she was cool though. Anyway, we had a new supervisor, and he was actually pretty decent. He really knew what he was doing. So much so that he was surprised at how we did supervision just one-on-one like that over every client. He actually had us focus on one client once a week and in great detail, and walked us through like how sessions should work, counseling theories, as you may have heard me say before on my streams and stuff, acceptance commitment theory, CBT, cognitive behavioral, DBT, things like that. Just so many. So he was very, very informative. You can just hear me talk about just so much of how much I just took away from this job even after. I don't know if you could just hear like the joy and stuff. It was good. It was good. Any like bad things that happened, maybe one school, and of course it was like elementary school. This school, you could just tell it was a clique. They had a clique in that school. I came into the school. It was like an institute day, so there were only teachers. They just did their whole orientation, like, hey, welcome back. They introduced everyone and did like this whole get to know each other thing. And I didn't do anything because I'm an introvert. I don't do anything, and I'm not from the building, so I just kept to myself. I don't do much. And I was walking around the school to get a layout of the building, and I went over to the water fountain to get a quick drink of water, and there was this door that was open and across the hall from me, like not even that far, and I could hear them say, hey, you know that new professional counselor that came in, Rosalind? Yeah, she's so introverted. She's so boring. Why isn't she talking? Like, really? We're talking like this? Seriously? Like, I know that we're in an elementary school, but I didn't think we would act elementary. Like, yeah, I'll be honest, it did hurt my feelings because they didn't even know me. I am shy, and this is the first time I'm in this school, and I have no support. When we go into these schools, we're by ourselves as professional counselors. And yeah, at that point, I didn't have as much as self-esteem as I did. And I was upset as well, because how can you say that about someone? For one, like, it's a bad thing. And two, you don't even know me. But yeah, it was ridiculous, to be honest. But yeah, that was one thing. And like I said, they were very, very cliquey. So when I would go and grab the students, they would be a little defensive on me pulling the students. They would interrogate me on asking questions on why I would pull them or pulling them at different times. The other thing is that they would criticize the students so much. For example, I had one teacher that said, oh, this student is such a bully. She was well aware that this student, their father had passed away. And I'm not sure if she was aware, but they were the first one to open the door and witness their father pass away. Like, well, I'm sorry, not witness, but they saw the parent on the floor. And just, I'm gonna refrain from saying the details. What they didn't know is how they passed away, which is the more horrible part. They didn't put the pieces together of how it happened. And I would think that they did know, because the social worker that was in the building was well aware. So in elementary schools, everyone's very well aware of what's going on, but they kept criticizing the child. The child usually was very heavy set, would bump into other kids, tended to was very impulsive. They would grab things without asking, and I would talk to them about the situation that happened and how to stop and think. And so one of the things that the teacher said was, oh, that student bumped into a child and they helped the child up, but the problem is they still bumped into that other child. I'm like, really? They made a problem by accident? and they fixed it. But you're still focused on the fact that it still happened. Anyway, the other thing that did happen, not related to the schools, is that normally, like I said before, the thing that happens is that we're by ourselves, especially after COVID. I joined this professional counseling agency after COVID. So we worked on our own. We did have an office, but we didn't go in there and meet or anything like that. So we were on our own. I didn't meet with the other professional counselors or anything. We just went into the building. I talked with my supervisor virtually, and that was it. I didn't get to meet any of the other counselors, except for this one other professional counselor. I thought she was cool. We laughed all the time. I had to call her for information about another student, and we clicked from there. But there was a problem. She had a job where she worked at a fast food place, and so she had 2 jobs, and she was like the lead over there. And ever since she left that job, that position, she became very controlling. And by that I mean things like, at the high school, they asked us to run groups, apparently. I wasn't aware of that. They asked us to run groups, and she started sending a mass email to all the professional counselors saying, hey, which one of you can do groups? I said no, because if all of us professional counselors did groups, who would be left to do one-on-one counseling with the rest of the kids? And second, I don't like doing groups. I prefer to work one-on-one with kids. So I opted out, and I said no. And then she emails me back saying, you have to do groups. You have no choice. Last time I checked, we get paid the same. Last time I checked, your position is the same as mine. No. And that's just one of the things. The other things that she did is, we have an office, like I mentioned before. She took it upon herself to go in and clean the office, reorganize everything. No one asked her to do any of those things. I moved 1 or 2 things in the office. I just scooted them over. And she started hunting down who moved what in the office. I didn't say anything. But it got worse and worse and worse. She asked me if I can have a client be pro bono. We're not allowed to do that. We work in schools, and they pay us. We can't take clients on pro bono. It did get to the point where I was shaking and crying, because if you were listening to the other hotel stories, I've been left a little traumatic from another manager that just had me shaking from trying to get me fired and having similar reactions to me from minor things. I had to keep looking over my shoulder, and she was giving me the same reactions from doing these behaviors. So I was getting scared. Even though she wasn't my boss, I was afraid that she was going to get me in trouble. And the worst part is that my current bosses weren't like that at all. Like I said, my second supervisor was so cool and friendly, and I was getting scared that she was going to get me in trouble. Not that she could. She left because I guess the job that she was in wasn't big enough for her. And I'll be honest, the facility that we were working at honestly is more for interns than full-fledged professional counselors, and it is. But she had her license, so she was good to go. So, but it was not okay. That was probably the biggest thing that bothered me. But honestly, the job itself was a lot of fun. I got to change schools every so often. I liked that ability to not be in the same building all the time. I don't know what it was about it, but just having the chance to not be in the same building all the time was a nice fresh of breath air. I don't know what it was, not having to see the same people. I don't know why. That was just a nice thing. The other thing is that I could make a little bit of extra money if I stayed in the office, so in the professional counseling office, and make a little bit afterwards. I loved being able to help clients with whatever they were going through. I loved having the extra free time if I had any. I loved being able to do paperwork. Honestly, just there was not any part that I didn't like. If something did come up, it was pretty much over and done with. Like I said, if there were people I didn't really care for, I didn't have to see them the next day or for like another week, so it was just a minor blow off. It didn't last long. I worked morning hours, I worked short hours, and yeah, there were clients that I worked with, and even my boss was impressed, because when you work in counseling, counselors tend to carry a lot of what they work with clients on. Like if there's a client with anger or anxiety, or like I said before, the one student who had seen their parent pass away, like I just told him, it's not my bag to carry. I'm only part of the client's journey, and I'm more than happy to be part of it and help them get as far as they can. But I can only be part of their journey. It's for them to carry, not me. And I always keep that in mind. And at the end of the day, it's the client that makes their choices. I can't make them do anything. I can only care so much. They have to care more than I do. And I really love learning. I really love learning more of how I can help people, new techniques that come out. I just really did enjoy a lot of this. But unfortunately, that position did not pay enough. That position paid essentially out of pocket. There were no taxes taken out, so I had to save to pay for taxes at the end of the year or throughout, which I learned unfortunately very roughly at the end of the year, that you have to pay taxes apparently throughout, not at the very end. They didn't pay health insurance, so I had to pay for that, which was very brutal. It did not come with benefits. And at the end of the year, the student loans were coming back. And I did not feel like paying them. So I thought, with my master's in school counseling, I should probably use that. And if you work feel free to correct me, because I only have like the vague definition from the little research. If you work in a government position job or in a school, what I more likely remember, and work there for about 10 years or more, or what I do more clearly remember, and make 120 payments consistently, they will clear your debt. But you have to be like a teacher, work in a certain school, things like that. But I wanted to go that route because I didn't want to pay off my debt or, work better, because the loan amount that I had was big. So I was like, you know what? I'll look. And an opportunity came up because I wanted to work with elementary school kids, and they don't hire. They don't hire a lot, or if they do, those positions are far away or in a certain area, things like that. The area, I didn't want to work in like the big cities. I didn't want to, I just had like certain requirements. There's just some things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to work in a big city. If I am going to be a school counselor, I'd rather not work with the older kids. There's just a lot of things that like are weary, but some things popped up and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'll say it right now as a preview for the next work ramble. The school job that came up was actually my old elementary school. Mild Elementary School. And I was ecstatic. I was dreaming that it would actually happen. And I applied. I got through the first interview, got through the second, and they didn't hire me. They didn't hire me. Yeah, that happened. But I did keep looking, and I did find something. But you're just gonna have to wait and see for the next work ramble of when I actually did apply to be a school counselor and how that worked out and what that's like. Because honestly, that is quite the roller coaster. The first year was terrible. The second year was quite a rush, and the third year is different, but honestly, it's still scary. And I can't wait to tell you more about that. I hope you enjoyed my professional counseling story. And if you have any questions about that or want to hear any other stories or anything different, let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you, Sparkles, next time. Bye-bye.